Our weekly segment, Behind the Headlines, comes your way every Monday night. But because on this channel we put the news first, that did not air last night. The government maintains that the planned second phase of evictions from the Mau Forest complex are legal and that the exercise must continue. At the same time, there are 3 court cases challenging the eviction exercise that is targeting more than 10,000 families living in the Masai Mau. The state and the targeted residents of the settlement locked in a big dispute over the cut line, which is the boundary between the forest and trust land. I traveled to the Mau to try and find out more about this recurring and highly politicized dispute. Take a look. The government is locked in a bitter tussle with a group of residents of this settlement in the Masai Mau over the boundary between community land and the forest.
The Masai Mau must be restored. And it is not negotiable.
Government boots already on the ground, ready to execute eviction orders from October 31st, when that 60-day deadline elapses with no solution.
Tumetafuta pesa ya kuweka fence, electric fence. Ili wala ambao hawana macho, ukienda pale ukiguza namna hii na kupiga stima, unajua umefika kwa wenyewe.
On the other hand, the issue has become a political hot potato over the fate of more than 10,000 families living in the disputed area.
Trust lands and community lands are managed by the county governments. So why should we even negotiate with Natembea or Keriako Tobiko in the first place?
The biggest bone of contention is the cut line, the boundary between trust land and forest area. This is the massively contested Masai Mau forest. It was initially trust land under the now defunct Narok County Council. Genesis of the cyclic crisis goes back as far as the 1970s, when group ranchers were awarded parcels of this beautiful land. No problem there. But now the government says occupants have crossed the cut line and encroached on the forest. If this tea plantation buffer zone is the cut line, as we're told, then the forest is intact. This is Sierra Leone, close to the edge of the Olposimoru forest. This area is part of the disputed land. Former Maasai group ranches which were subdivided under the supervision of the Narok County Council and sold to land buyers. The government wants residents out of this area.
Tukifunga msitu na upatikane ndani huko mebaki huko. Haki ya Mungu. Ile miti uliharibu yote utapanda ndio utoke huko.
And this is Eric Kiplagat Bet. He served in the Kenya Air Force and upon retiring bought land in this area. He is part of many former servicemen who settled here, hence the name Sierra Leone, following a famous peacekeeping mission in the West African nation. His family has lived here since 1989.
The delegation was led by the then chairman of KANU, who is now our president, and the Secretary General, who was there by then Honorable William Ruto, who is the current Deputy President. We went to State House Nairobi, and the retired President Mwai Kibaki ordered the then Minister of Lands, Mr. Kivuta Kibwana, telling him that our titles are valid and therefore we should not be disturbed.
Bet and his neighbors bought land from various group ranches that had been formed to give land to the indigenous people of the Masai Mau. There were a total of 5 group ranches which owned this trust land: Sisian, Enain Kishomi, Reyo, and also Gon and Enkaroni.
Initially it was a group ranch. The first thing I did was to check whether the man who was trying to sell me that piece of land was a member of that group ranch.
The Narok County Council then allowed subdivision of the tracts of land. This subdivision led to ballooning of the 5 group ranches, and this is where problems began. Illegal extension of the land into the forest in a legal process rubber-stamped by the land registry.
There is nothing like compensation for Mau. If you are in Mau, the title you have is a paper title.
This attracted legitimate and suspecting buyers largely from the counties of Bomet and Kericho. Many of them sold their land back home and bought land here legally and were presented with title deeds.
Anybody who could come in could go and search first before buying the land. After searching, knowing that it's a genuine, Now they buy.
Currently, there are 3 court cases in Nakuru, Kitale and Narok challenging the government's planned second phase of evictions. The massive nature of the subdivision caused capacity issues. The surveying of the land was supposed to be done by government surveyors only, but we found out that there was not enough manpower, and the government controversially used private surveyors.
I came here after being consulted by Group Ranch to come and assist them by subdividing this land.
In 2015, the government established this cut line, a 24-kilometer tea plantation by the Nyao Tea Zone. It is 300 meters wide and creates a buffer zone between the Masai Mao section of the forest under the county of Narok and Olposimoru Forest, managed by the Kenya Forest Service.
Before the evictions of 2005 started, they came in and marked a boundary, claiming that the group ranches ballooned the areas of jurisdiction.
It turns out the government is using another cut line. In 2010, the Mao Task Force, led by Hassan Nur Hassan, profiled a part of the disputed land and referred to it as the status quo area. The decision was to let people live in the forest until the government takes another course of action.
It's a paper title. And you do not deserve any compensation, and you will not get a penny from government.
It seems that time is now. The only problem is there are innocent Kenyans who had bought land there legally 20 years before the Hassan Nur Task Force.
Let's petition the county assembly to reverse it from trust land to public land. And then from there, we profile the people who have titles here, those people who genuinely own land here.
In the last 20 years, the government has recovered only 32,000 hectares of the Mao Forest Complex. This is only 8% of the Mao. The looming second phase of evictions seek to reclaim 8,000 hectares and displace over 10,000 families, leaving 15 government-constructed schools obsolete. The Mao Forest crisis is a delicate balancing act between conserving the biggest water tower in the region and resolving a highly politicized cat-and-mouse game of evictions and resettlement once and for all.